This is a video about which I've thought long and hard before making. So for those of you who are new to this channel, and I think there may be a few on this particular video, there are three things that you need to know about me. Firstly, seeing as this is a running channel, I've been a competitive runner for over 25 years. Secondly, in my professional life, I have worked in the field of neurodivergence, more specifically autism, for the past 20 years, and that is in schools. And the third relevant point in the context of this video is recently I have been diagnosed as being autistic and having ADHD. Now, it's fair to say that these are not uncommon characteristics amongst runners. I can think of a few prominent YouTubers who also have disclosed their diagnoses either of autism or ADHD. So in this video, I'm going to take you through different ways in which autism and ADHD, I think, impacts on my experience of the sport of running. I'd be interested to know if any of you out there are either autistic or have ADHD yourself, or run with people who you know are. And moving forward, I hope to make some videos about what the sport of running does well for neurodivergent people and some of the ways I think it might be improved to be more inclusive. So briefly, as I don't want to turn this into a training session on ADHD and autism, which is what I do in the day job, I will give a very brief outline about what each of those conditions are. So autism is a condition which affects the way a person's brain processes the world, more specifically the communication, human interaction and sensory demands coming at it. It can also lead an individual into very driven, fixed patterns of thoughts and behaviour. The common characteristics of ADHD, on the other hand, are difficulties in maintaining focus on one particular thing or task for a very long time, but at the other end of the spectrum, an ability when the individual is locked into something to hyper-focus to the exclusion of anything else, but also the ability to remain locked in onto several different tasks concurrently. So firstly, I'm going to think about some of the strengths that my neurodivergent way of processing the world brings to my running. Firstly, I think that the social imagination side of autism is very prevalent in my behaviours. So when it comes to relentlessly focusing on a goal, I can do so. Those of you who followed this channel for a while knows that since last September, I've been on the quest for a sub 40 10k, my first since 2017. And I've not given up on that. Every week I'm training towards it. I've entered several 10k races. I've not given it up as futile, and indeed this coming weekend I have another 10k race where I shall again be attempting to break 40 minutes. And for those of you who watched that video and thought a DNF in a 10k is uncharacteristic for me, there's part of the reason, the mental burn of going through this diagnostic process. And if I don't do that, guess what? In 5 weeks time I have another 10k race where I shall be attempting to break 40 minutes. And if I don't do that, guess what? In early September, you can guess the rest. But when I think about many of the more successful runners I've met in my long running career, they have that ability to have a relentless focus too. They might not necessarily be autistic, but certainly one common characteristic of successful runners is the ability to lock in to good habits, to focus day after day on the big goal and be able to undertake those micro steps in order to achieve it. And slightly related to that is a second thing that I think my neurodivergence helps with when it comes to running, is to often take emotion out of things. So quite often we'll get home and Dawn will tell me, I don't feel like running today, or I don't feel like doing this. To which my stock reply is, I don't really care what we're feeling, it's next on my list of things to do, so I'd like to do it. So having, again, the social imagination side of autism, that list of things in your head that is almost like a schedule for the day, you move on to the next thing. And if the next thing says 5 miles at zone 2 with 4 times 100 meter strides at the end, I'll tend to do that because that's what it says in my brain is the next thing that's going to happen. So that does remove the sort of going by how you feel, but I'll come back to that in some of the challenges that my neurodivergence brings to my running a little bit later in this video. So switching focus a little to the ADHD side, I think the third strength that my neurodivergence brings to my running is the hyperactivity I have in my brain. I've mentioned before, I think it was at the Bourton on the Water 10k, I hadn't hit my goal, also 40 minutes, but those final few kilometres of going back in the road along to Bourton, I was thinking about, why haven't I hit 40 minutes? What can I do to achieve this, and what is that going to look like over the coming few weeks? So my brain wasn't just focusing on the race, it was processing the information about the race and formulating a plan as well. So the ability to have almost lots of different operating systems in your head at the same time, to me, is the strength of running. There's not many points in the day where I'm not thinking about what I'm eating. Am I sitting down too much? Do I need to move around? What's the weather like? Everything to do with the run later that day is going through my head. And those of you, again, who follow this channel for a while will realise there's a certain hyperactive element in the amount of content we produce. We generally produce 2 to 3 videos a week, park runs, training vlogs, racing vlogs, and like this, topics of general running interest. My mind is constantly on the go about what the next 2 or 3 videos are going to look like. Who's going to be the main presenter, myself or Dawn? Is it going to be a joint one? Is it going to be a race, a park run, etc.? So I think the hyperactivity brings a tremendous strength to my running, and that it's constantly on my mind. So another aspect of an autism profile that affects my running is the sensory side. Now, when you are running and when you are running your best to try and achieve something, let's be fair, folks, it doesn't feel very nice. But I think my autistic processing allows me, when I'm in the final stages, perhaps of a 10k race or a 5k where I'm really pushing, it allows me almost to segment that pain to one side as I relentlessly focus on the time goal, on hitting the next corner, of catching up to the next runner. So the sensory side, I can sort of dull one part of the senses to enlarge the social imagination side of autism, to enable that balance, which is really going to help me achieve and get the best out of myself. I very rarely in a race think, this hurts too much, I'm folding in my cards. And when I do, there's a particular reason, which we'll come on to a little later in the video. So are any of these characteristics hitting home to you, either as a neurodivergent runner or what we call a neurotypical runner? And the fifth and final characteristic that comes into my running, and more particularly my coaching, is the ability to read other people's thoughts, feelings and actions, as long as I'm not emotionally or personally involved myself. I'll give you some examples of that. So some of the people that we coach, some of the people at the club we advise, have all got different mentalities, different approaches to their running. They've all got different things they thrive off, and they've all got certain things that are certain challenges to them that maybe we need to work on improving. And I believe that my neurodivergence makes me able to understand the divergence and the diversity of many different types of runners, and set them the sessions and give them the right sort of encouragement and challenge to help them get the best out of themselves too. It's something I do in my day job, reading other people's situations and offering advice, support, encouragement and ways forward, and I believe I bring that into my running coaching too. I think my particular type of neurodivergence too also makes me able to see the big picture and complex patterns and how various different pieces of things fit together and how they can be tweaked in order to get better goals and better achieved outcomes. So, any of you viewers out there, neurodivergent yourself, have you got any other strengths that you think your particular neurodivergence brings to your running? I'd genuinely love to know them. If you could put them in the comments below, because in my head, my hyperactive head, I'm already planning future videos about this topic of running a neurodivergence. Now then, let's come into thinking about some of the challenges that my neurodivergence brings to my running. And the first and most obvious one, again, if you follow the channel for a while, you'll be well aware of this, is my approach to marathons. Now, my marathon PB is 2 hours and 42 minutes. That is, quick maths, 162 minutes. So back in the day, that was the amount of time I had to focus during a marathon to get the best outcome I could. These days, at a push, I'm looking at 200 minutes for a marathon. That's an extra 38 minutes. And when things go wrong, I can quickly lose interest. My attention deficit thinks this is not worth doing. There was one example last year where I switched the social imagination side on and said, I'm finishing this marathon come what may, and I ended up in hospital after that. So I think that the ability to focus on those long runs, which I don't enjoy, I find them boring. If I'm doing a long run, it has to be segmented into a session. So it's a 2-mile warm up, 3 miles of this, 2 miles of that, 1 mile of that. Just the thought of going out and running for 20 miles up and down our local trail just fills me with dread because it just takes so long. So I think the ADHD side of my neurodivergence really isn't suited to marathon running. Now, I do know of some very eminent YouTubers who are attuned to marathon running, outstanding marathon runners that made the Olympics, or they're trying to make the Olympics, so they are of that very high standard. So I think they have the ability to sort of focus, but obviously a very shorter time than I have to focus on it. So coming back to that hyperactivity side, the second challenge I face in running is that I need frequent hits of adrenaline, frequent affirmations that I'm making progress or running well. If you look at my Power of 10, it's absolutely stacked with park runs that I've raced or frequent races that I've done, and that's another reason I've sort of pivoted from the marathon to the 10Ks and 5Ks, is that you can race more frequently, you can go to more races, you can get those hits. So I think another challenge my running faces in terms of my neurodivergence is having a great long 16-12 week training block towards one goal where it might go very wrong, just doesn't suit my way of thinking. I need frequent highs along the way. I need those parkrun comeback PBs, I need that all-in 10K effort whether I hit my goal or not. So yeah, I think another challenge in my running, but something I've come to realise, is that I process a lot better having short, frequent goals than one big, long-term goal. So next, let's come back to that sensory side I mentioned as a strength, and be able to lock out pain in order to focus on an achievable outcome. So one challenge I have as a runner is certain types of races don't suit me, and that's where the sensory and the social imagination come into play and make it a real challenge for me. So recently we went to the Swansea Half Marathon as Dawn was running in the England v Wales Masters race, and to be honest, I found the pre-race logistics overwhelming. We'd actually reckoned it the previous day, we knew where we were going to park, but then we were wondering, were there going to be diversions in place? Then there was a queue to actually pay for the car parking, time was ticking away. I had various things I needed to do as regarding toilet, as regarding taking various things before the race that I normally do, and my whole schedule was going out of the window because of these various delays. I don't like the overload of people queuing for toilets when you might have to be there a very long time, when there's other things you might want to be doing. As we know, the sensory aspect of race toilets isn't the best. So yeah, I like a race where you can park very close to the start line, maybe a quarter of a mile away, so you can go back and drop off a t-shirt, you can go back and pick something else up. Otherwise, having to process everything at the same time before a race can become quite overwhelming to me, and that's why I will never ever run something like the London Marathon again. Even if I were to qualify, I'll get a place by another means, because the whole day is just so high arousal for my head. There are so many things ticking through it that I'll just get to the start line washed out, drained and mentally exhausted. Another slight sensory issue I have is around something called interoception. Now that's the signals coming from your internal organs to your head to tell you to take a certain action or stop a certain action. And in my case, it's eating food. If food is on the plate, I have to eat it. Often Dawn won't finish her tea and I have to finish hers too, because the signals coming from my tummy to my head saying, "You've had enough food now, sunshine, stop eating, you are fueled," are a little bit delayed. So I continue eating the food. One, because it's there and I don't like to see waste, but two, because I haven't got the signals that I'm full, so I'll keep eating. And maybe that's why I'm finding it a little bit hard to get down to the prime racing weight that I was many years ago. And my best was about 144 pounds, don't know what that is in modern money. Now I operate at about 164 pounds, despite running 50 miles a week and doing 2 gym sessions. I've talked earlier in the video about how that autistic scheduling tick box mentality is very good for me when it comes to not feeling like I don't want to run, because I remove feelings from it. But one way at which it's a disadvantage or challenge for me is when I try and squeeze everything in a week. Now this is particularly true when it comes to mobility and gym strength and coordinating sessions. In my head, I have to do 2 strength and conditioning sessions a week in order to, 1, remain uninjured, and 2, make further progress which will make me a faster runner. And sometimes I'll do that at the compromise to the running. It's like last night we went out for a run, my legs were really heavy. That's because I'd been to the gym the previous day, overdone it a little bit because I wanted to achieve certain goals and tick off certain things in my head, certain exercises I wanted to do. So now we are at a couple of days before one of those sub 40 goal 10Ks, and I'm really hoping my legs recover in the next couple of days so they feel fresh so I can smash it. Viewer, they didn't feel fresh and I didn't smash it. So I have what I sometimes call putting a quart into a pint pot mentality. I know we hear a lot about less is more, or more is more, or more is less, whichever way around you want to phrase it, but I am always trying to do more. If you tell me do this extra thing because it might make you faster, I'll do it. Obviously when it's within the framework of clean athletics. Yeah, eat this, take that, do this exercise, I'll do it. What I find hard is to step back from doing things. So writing training plans for other people, clear, logical, enough challenge, but not so much in there that people are going to end up overdoing it. Applying the same rules to myself, not so easy. And the final challenge that my neurodivergence brings to my running, I've alluded to it earlier in terms of the marathon, is I'm not suited to races where there's lots of things to think about. So I've tried fell running. My proprioception, as in my sense of where my body is in relation to what's around me, is quite poor. I am very clumsy. I just resort to walking on the fells. Ultra running I'm not suited for because there's so many different things to think about. Hats off to those of you who do relish that challenge, but for me, I'm a simple soul when I race. I just want to start here, end somewhere else or back where I started, and all I've got to think about is just running as fast as possible between A and B. Once you start taking into account navigation, fueling, hydration, my brain just gets overloaded with all those things. Now, when I used to run marathons, it used to take maybe 3 gels with you, and it's very much a start here and finish there sort of job. But these days there's so much going on in terms of taking this drink, taking the caffeine gel, taking the normal gel, taking this amount of carbs, that amount of carbs. Again, it just overloads me, and another reason why I don't really like the thought of approaching marathons. It's a great logistical undertaking as well as the running. Great for those who apply yourselves to it and master it, but for me it's just not my sort of running. 10k, 39, 40, 41 minutes, press start, press stop, and run as fast as you can, and there's not a lot else to think about in between. So I think I'll leave that there for now. There is so much more I could say, and as I say, I'll probably return to this topic in the future on this channel. So my intention with this video is twofold. One, to help you understand a little bit more about my running, regular channel viewers who followed us for a while or maybe new to the channel, but also to offer a space to people who might be neurodivergent themselves or close to a neurodivergent runner, to help them understand a little bit more about what goes on in the neurodivergent processing brain, and also perhaps to offer a space to neurodivergent runners who want to share their experiences in the comments below, because I'm genuinely interested to know how other neurodivergent runners channel their neurodivergence into being a successful runner, and then some of the challenges they face, how they overcome those or swerve those. So like in my case, I don't do marathons because I know, however inspired I get watching other people do them on YouTube, it's not for me, and I've learned that over several years. So let me know in the comments below how neurodivergence affects your experience of running. So I hope you found this video interesting, something a little bit different on the channel. And if running a neurodivergence is something you'd like to learn more about and you're not subscribed already, then please subscribe to the channel. It's worth it, as well as all the other running content we bring you on a regular and relentless basis, as I alluded to earlier. So until next time, keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.